Once I start the recording, this starts to become the pure form of communication between Atmas and us, myself, Perry, and from
Yes.
those wondrous friends who voluntarily do this work, who are not from Earth, never were from Earth, never got caught here, don't have subconscious minds at all. That's normal. The
Uh,
from Earth are not yet normal. Yeah,
may I inform them before we start the journey? We
sure.
will have an English group journey. The time is in Thailand, okay, on the 5th and 21st of May. If you guys are interested to join us next time, okay? Thailand, the time in Thailand, two times, 5th and 21st, the time in Thailand, okay?
When this begins as a telepathic journey, it doesn't matter where you are on the planet or how far away or anything like that, because this is between beings who are not made of matter, energy, space, and time, who are not DNA, and they're not bodies. None of you are the bodies you run. This much you all know well. Secondary implant removal journeys accomplish a great deal to get certain things out of the way that keep people from having a higher intelligence, a higher IQ, the ability to understand these long distance journeys. And the long distance journeys that we go on also reveal and awaken a great deal more of your higher faculties long before you were ever implanted and stuffed on Earth. This is the important point of these longer journeys, because they're direct experientially based. Your experience. When we go out into places like the Hue Expansion Ray Academy above the void, there's no negative nature there whatsoever of any kind. This means that when we're there, we are actually in an energy field that has no negative nature, and we can create new ways of doing things there with others without fear of any kind, and this rubs off on us. And we bring it back to our lives on earth when we return. This is how this actually works. Some of those higher faculties, the ability to play in the multidimensional creation while you're running a body on earth, are things that we shut down or turned off or forgot long before tyrants ever captured us. We have been out in the universe playing in the lower worlds of time and space for billions of years. It's time to begin to recover what we were made to forget, or we caused ourselves to forget. Back in the beginning, when we first started exploring the lower worlds of time and space and started picking up bodies to gain experience. Remember, bodies are made of molecules and atoms and DNA and part of the positive and negative constructions of things. In the lower dimensions, the etheric, mental, causal, astral, and physical planes are major divisions in the multidimensional creation. They each operate on a separate higher frequency from the Earth parallel dimensions and the physical universe that we call the physical plane. Ships in the physical plane, as advanced as they are, do not go into the astral plane. That's too far removed from matter in the physical universe. Lives we have and bodies we're running there in the astral, where emotion comes from. Matter is moved and created and moved around through emotion. It's not like it is in the physical universe down here, where we push things around and construct things. We get up to the causal, the energy is even higher, the mental higher still, and the etheric higher than that. We are not now, nor have we ever been, the physical bodies that we run in those planes, whether we remember them or not. One of the advantages of going above the void and coming back is that it helps to recover the awareness you once had of the bodies you are running right now on these other dimensions that you may or may not remember yet. When I think of the astral body I have, my name there is Lemriel Trimbana. It is not R. Scott Lemriel. I have names in the causal, mental, and etheric plane, and I know what I'm doing there. The higher so-called selves that are below the void, but above the physical, are working in harmony with each other now. But most people think that these forms are their higher selves are helping them here. This is most often not the case, because the subtleties and traps bodies get into, the Atma becomes unfamiliar, unawake, or unaware of the bodies it's running because of something that happened to the Atma itself long ago. And so these bodies live lives independent of each other and not necessarily know about each other. One of the things we do on the return journey always, even though I may not discuss it or speak of it, we, on our way back down through a vortex, through, say, from the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, we pass down through those body forms to help them become aware of each other and to help work together. This is under the control of each Atma. Each one of you is an individual. Because our journeys are consciousness based, above the void where no negative nature exists. We're bringing back the only way a person can make change in their lives, real change, is to go where we originated and bring some of that pure positive energy back here. It moves through our physical forms on all the planes and begins to make you smart enough and enlightened enough to have real change happen. And what we do, what becomes a natural outcome of this, is that we become what we were always meant to be: conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the source behind all life, because we are comprised of, made out of exactly the same energy. No difference whatsoever. The Atma, the spherical being we are, is made of Hue energy. It is not a material body. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be penetrated by negative things. Not even implantation can take place in the Atma. That's, as you know, done outside in the electromagnetic field, made of the hue that surrounds it, so it can float in an omnipresent living power, just like a galaxy or a planet does. The Atma floats and moves in this same energy field. The hue has no limits like the speed of light. Gravity does not get in its way. The more advanced races from the stars who come to Earth and have been coming here for a very long time, more than 80 different races altogether, have been coming here in secret, oftentimes without even contacting governments. Sometimes they do. And they've been coming here since before there were even more sophisticated governments on this planet. And this has to do with a treaty between world systems and former tyrant races dealing with planet Earth. The tyrants that were once here, or reptilian or greys or little abductors and things like that, are no longer in our solar system at all. This is a great revelation because it means somebody removed them. It was not the classified people on this planet. They didn't know how to do that. So it had to be done for them. Call it grace, call it whatever you want. But it means that we do not exist alone in a grand multidimensional creation. The few billion people that are on Earth are nothing compared to what's out there just in the physical universe. Just in the Milky Way galaxy alone, billions of stars. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of planetary systems. Most of them are binary and trinary star systems, not single like the one we live in. So when we go out and play amongst such things, we're rubbing shoulders with, embracing, having this kind of energy move through us as an Atma. It turns on some of these dormant and unconscious, turned off teardrops in the different layers of the being that we are. It's inevitable that we become conscious co-creators with the source. It's why we exist. This cannot be avoided. Even if it's taken you 1 billion years to come to the point of going on these journeys to begin to recover who you are, sooner or later, you will cross paths with the hue. This is something that you each did from the courage that's awakened in you despite what was done to you. You were able to step forward. And I admire you all for that, because the Atma has always had mastery over anything in the lower worlds of time and space. Evil, good, bad, all that stuff. But it's been twisted over time to doubt or fear this ability that it has. It's still there. It's just sleeping or hidden behind terrorizing threats. So when we get rid of those threats and we start to move forward naturally, our nature awakens. Our nature is to only create with others those things which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on earth. That will not cut it. It has to be the whole thing. We are capable as individuals from the source of co-creating new ways of doing things in the entire lower dimensions of time and space. But it begins where we're going. I will send out the hue now on different tone levels because friends from out of town are doing it with us. They're prepared to take you on another journey, as am I, Pari. Beyond time and space, beyond fear, beyond the lower worlds where so much misunderstanding has taken place over countless ages. The old experiment of good and evil is in fact being retired through the whole lower dimensions. It has to be replaced with something. Creation abhors a vacuum. So something else has to take its place that was fairly recently brought into creation in the upper realities above the void. Once it was tested by Satnam and found to be true, necessary, and kind, it was implemented. And this cannot be reversed by anyone. Tyrant races from the stars are contained within their own world systems, and they're also being changed as we speak. The Sayers Agenda book reveals this very clearly for the first time, especially to people on Earth. It reveals it to the classified community on this planet. They watch these videos. Why? Because it's beneficial for them as well. I do not have enemies in the men in black or classified people. I'm not an enemy of governments or heads of religions. This is not our purpose. Our purpose is to benefit and awaken all of them in order to them to let go of fear. Fear is negative. It always misdirects and miscreates what people attempt to do with it. As long as people on Earth are making decisions based on subconscious influenced fear that they are terrified to know, then they will make mistakes on this planet continuously until they end all life here, which they would have done already had it not been prevented from outside of Earth. This is the great awakening people need to go through. Not just that they are extraterrestrial in origin, you all were, but that you once knew far more about everything than you know now, running that one lifetime, that one body on Earth. When you're above your body daydreaming, that's what everybody does. They daydream going to the store, getting on an airplane, going to the mall. Their body then follows. Their ability to see going to the store before they go there does not come from the human brain. It's not in the brain. The brain has no motion picture camera to see things on a video screen from one brain cell to another. That is not its purpose. That is not its function. It's one of the things that keeps people trapped on Earth. They think whatever they imagine comes from their brain. It limits them to physical bodies on Earth and binds them there by their own misdirected use of the imagination. Imagination is not something made up in the brain. It is the ability to see into the nature of the multidimensional universe, utilize the faculties of the Atma, and select a place you wish to go to. Then you see it, and the hue takes you there. The one power is the one thing that takes us everywhere. We do not do that on our own. Atmas do not store the omnipresent power. It's made of it, but it has to be plugged into the omnipresent power to go and write on it. It is the one living power that manifests all things we see. So it matters most that we see good things and not be split into the trap of seeing good things for ourselves and family and fear of the present and future. That divides the consciousness in half, and the energy gets grounded into the earth. This happens with people's relationships as well. They don't realize it. They think they're normal on planet, and yet down deep everybody knows they are not normal. But this is not what they're used to. Living here with no memory is not normal. So what is underway now is to reverse this, fix this, heal this, change this. And we each individually have to be co-creatively involved in the process of our own liberation in order to gain the wisdom necessary along the way to keep it, so that we're not vulnerable again to be trapped, ever. You imagine being up near the ceiling looking down on your body, you are going to discover there is a man and a woman assigned to you, not from Earth. Shantial and Tonatial are beside me now. Dantiam and Lamtiam are beside Pari. They switch off whenever they wish. They're all qualified and capable. There's another couple standing beside each of you that looks similar, about the same height. They have a little Galactic Alliance uniform on, a blue-gray fabric, single form-fitting thing. They step into it, fits over their shoulders, has that Galactic Alliance symbol on the right shoulder, chest area. Silver galaxy, four-sided golden pyramid with a quartz top, and three blue, cobalt blue stars in triangular formation above it. Very ancient. It's over 500,000 years old, that symbol. It involves more than 450 million spacefaring worlds and races that occupy just a little under 1/2 of the galaxy that come to this planet or to many other worlds. Such beings know what they are, that is not a physical body. They grow up knowing this. They know how to leave it. They do. When they take a ship tasked to come to Earth on an Emerald Star cruiser or some other bigger vessel, when they come into this solar system, they can be set up in such a way that radar and people on Earth can't even see them, can't even detect them. This is just a higher use of technology. They want to be seen, they'll be seen. There are people that explain, describe seeing ships blink in the horizon, travel a distance across the sky, and then blink out, disappear. This is their ability to raise their molecular time rate to that of a parallel dimension and back. They can move around in ways that people on Earth do not yet comprehend. This couple is standing beside you where you are. They're keeping your primary implant turned off. If you still have secondary implants, they're keeping those turned off too, so that we can go on the journey and gain benefit. Great goodwill, clear understanding of things that we once knew how to understand with ease, without effort. The Atma does not struggle to know things. The Atma does not have to learn to become perfect in some distant infinite future. It is perfect now. It comes from a place where no negative nature exists. So what we really need to do is turn on a lot of those faculties and remember what and who we are, and then apply them to being a co-creator with the source. Simple, straightforward, direct. You imagine being these two beings beside you, point upward. You find yourself in space, already in space, standing in a circle of beings around Ambassador Turelian. You say it's a big mystery. Why does this being, this majestic being, bother to spend so much time with our little journeys from people on Earth? Well, think of it this way. If you were free in creation, you don't even have a physical body, a burden to push one around or feed it or take it to the bathroom. And you have an eternal nature as an Atma awake in you, and you're a co-creator with Source. What are you going to do with the rest of your eternity? What makes sense is to liberate people in the lower worlds of time and space from subconscious minds and terror and fear and all the rest of that claptrap nonsense. So they do what is most uplifting for them, that is most uplifting for others. This is why they don't find a problem, and that this work they do is effortless. They do not think like people on Earth. They do not live like people on Earth. Galactic Alliance citizens, such as Shantiel and Tonaltiel and Dantam and Lamtam and the others, in the billions, do not have subconscious minds at all. Okay there, Pari? They don't have subconscious minds. People on Earth can't even understand what the hell that means. They're told they have subconscious minds, but not anything about them, because people on Earth don't know anything about them. That's the problem. They don't know. And fear tells them, don't look here, we'll kill you again. When you're standing in a circle, this is just like your ability to see yourself going to the store, or to the beach, or out for a walk. No difference. First you see it, and then your body follows. In this case, the body stays in the trance state we call sleep. Sitting up, no problem. You put it to sleep every night and leave it. But if you're not taught from birth to understand or bring back anything, why would you know how to do it as an adult? Why would you? Well, you wouldn't. Earth is that unconscious. People on it don't talk this language. They don't teach it in universities. It's not revealed on the planet. Parents don't know it. Grandparents don't know it. Governments and religions do not know it, unfortunately. But they should, and they will. This is inevitable. Turellian's standing in the center of the circle. He's 18 feet tall. Why? Because that's the body he had over 1 billion years ago before they evolved to a point as Atmas to dematerialize those bodies, 12-stranded DNA, and store it in one of the teardrops in the yellow layer on the outside of the white core of their being. You can see that hovering above Turellian. It's a bit brighter and more in depth than we have as Atmas, but we're pretty much the same. And so this A rays simply store that DNA pattern, 12-stranded, and when they need to bring it out like he's doing now, he draws on the omnipresent power. It moves through this one teardrop and projects a being, physical form you could touch if he was walking around on Earth. But he doesn't have the burden of feeding it or taking it to the bathroom. When he's done with it, he stores it back in a teardrop and travels around the universe free from the burden of running a machine, a biological entity like the ones we're running on Earth. In the beginning, you all knew what you were. That looks like what is shown on the front cover of the Emerald Doorway book for the first time anywhere. Those beings in the Galactic Alliance, some of them knew it, many did not. They had paradisical worlds compared to Earth. They don't eat things like people do on Earth. They don't live like people on Earth. They do not have governments like people on Earth. They don't live in any way, shape, and form like people on Earth. And they live vastly longer lifetimes. They do not overpopulate their worlds. And since this work began in the higher realities and was starting to move into the lower planes of time and space, they have now been going across the void, often with us, to take turns as instructors in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And this is because it didn't exist over 9 or 10 years ago, even up there. This is something new. Master Ramu is standing in the circle by us. He's over towards the Earth. His maroon robe and short cropped black curly hair and beard, bronze, kind of dark brown skin, coal black eyes, maroon robe, simple sandals, a little rope for a belt, holding this crystal staff up that's glowing with the golden light of the hue, crested with the Egyptian Ankh for eternal life. At least it was imported to Egypt in the beginning. It did not come from planet Earth. And he's showing you a body form that looks to be about 36 years old, but it's over 500 years old. And he hangs out in a city called Agamdes, located in the Himalayan-type mountains on Earth, but not in the Earth you know of. It is in a higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. And it is a continent that is as big as the left hemisphere to the right. It covers the whole half of the planet. There are no polar ice caps. And that's what you're seeing now instead of the Earth you're used to. The moon has water and little oceans and rivers and domed cities on it. No polar ice caps. And it is turning on its axis as it orbits the Earth. There's one sun in the distance. When you look in space out here, everything is a white golden light. It isn't black like you see in a Space Hubble telescope image. Human eyes on Earth are not designed to see into a high enough frequency of light to see it, so it appears black, but it isn't. The more advanced scientists on Earth understand that this zero-point or toroidal energy, as they've coined it, the energy of the universe, that is out there that's so vast that little galaxies float in it, is not nuclear, it's not atomic, it has no atoms, no molecules. It is another type of energy that is behind and supporting all of that. And it's the same through all the dimensions, up through the void, up into the higher worlds of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, all the way up through the higher planes, to Agam Purusha's realm, to the ocean of sound and light, and beyond. And it never stops moving. It is a living, vibrant, single power a living energy. It is not an individual like us. We together make it up collectively because we're made of the same energy, non-nuclear, non-atomic. This is who we are. Master Opelum is standing in the orbit around Ambassador Trellian, a little further out in space, with his pale blue skin, jet black, smooth hair, black hair to his shoulders, emerald green eyes, Galactic Alliance uniform on. It's blue in his case. It's Oceanan. It's not blue-gray. It's a little different. He is the founding sponsor, along with Ambassador Trellian and others, that brought together and formed the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, stationed on the planet Zetranami 1, near the galactic core of our galaxy, 500,000 years ago. I am standing to the left of him in this circle. Chantil and Tonaltil are standing beside me. They're dear friends. Pari's standing a little further over towards Ramu. He's got Dantam and Lamtam standing beside her. And each of you are in between us in this circle. You can see the four of you around the circle, equidistantly placed apart from each other. And there are other beings between you. These are teachers from the Galactic Alliance, master teachers, that are now going on these journeys above the void to take a turn teaching at facilities there and learning there. The white golden light around us here has a sound. It sounds like soft rumbling thunder without lightning. It's not scary. It is uplifting. We hear and see it. As each of you become more aware on Earth, you'll begin to hear and see it right in your own atmosphere. You'll hear it around you, sitting in a room when a refrigerator is not on and nothing's making a sound, and you'll hear this humming or this high white noise or the single note of a flute or the crashing of the ocean on a beach, which comes from the astral plane. These are all aspects of the omnipresent you that manifest a different universal tone on each dimensional level. Don't have to worry about learning this. You already know it. It's recorded in the teardrops and the individual faculties of each atom. It's not lost. It's never been destroyed. It has been, let's say, neglected, unused, forgotten, much of it. Time you get to be running a body on Earth with no memory, a lot of it isn't really working right. But it doesn't mean it isn't still there. There's probably 60 or 70 other people in a big circle standing between us that surround Trellian. Trellian's got his two thumbs up with his fist closed, a golden wire light around him that's brighter than the hue in the area of space by Earth. When you look up above him, you see Etta and Din, those two cute drens, about 3 feet long, standing upright on their hind legs with their tail extended out behind them, glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight, their big blue bulbous eyes. I just adore this couple. I've known them for over 100,000 years. They are master teachers, both of them, but they are not carbon-based like Earth human DNA. They're silica-based. Silica like sand in Earth's oceans on the beaches. The mantle, mostly silica. Quartz, whatever you want to call it. But these bodies are comprised of a basic molecular chain that's silica-based, not carbon. So they evolved the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air in a planetary atmosphere. They come from the planet Oceania, where Master Opelum comes from. The Oceanian scientists helped them evolve to the keen level of biological expansion they exist in now with vocal cords and photographic memories. These two are immortalized. So is Ramu, so is Opellum. This means they have the science that keeps the telomere at the end of their DNA, which is more strands than Earth human, from shrinking when cells divide. This is what aging is. They know how to keep that telomere turned on so it does not shrink. They do not age. At least not any way you would understand, because Master Opellum is over 500,000 years old, showing you the body that looks to be about 40, still on that planet across the galaxy. Et Din, I don't know how old they are, but I know that I knew them as adults when they were adult Drens 100,000 years ago. Now they're master teachers. They evolved very quickly. There are a dozen spacecraft, disc-shaped, thin blue, enter gravitic light around their blue-gray hulls, in a circle in the outside surrounding this circle of beings. And they are actual craft hovering in space. They look like what's shown on the front of the Sayers Agenda book. You can see through the hulls of these craft because we are Atmas. We aren't material ships. And you realize that the couple standing beside you, in back of these ships, there are 4 couples in all 12. A couple is sitting in the back of a lounge in the back of the hall, shoulder to shoulder, apparently asleep, with their heads down to their chest. And then you realize these two are showing you a perfect human-like form, about 36, made of energy, and it is the beings that are asleep in those ships standing beside you. They cannot go in a ship up through the void to the Hugh Expansion Ray Academy or higher. Those ships cannot even go into the astral plane. There is a barrier between these dimensional levels. That's how we created it in the beginning. There's really nothing wrong with the multidimensional structure of creation. It's the beings with subconscious minds that's the problem. The rest is just fine. We are meant to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators, caretakers, and custodians of the world systems in the lower planes. We were meant to take care of them and help evolve animal and plant and mammalian forms to a higher level. Atmas run those bodies too. You must understand this. Because once that's awakened you, when we go above the void, this begins to awaken in all Atmas. Their life in the outer world on Earth begins to change. Not by struggling to break an old habit, not by struggling to give up this or that. There's only one thing we're required to give up permanently and completely, and that is fear. Nothing else. Give up that, everything else falls naturally into place. That's what these journeys are about. That's what they've always been about. Not just getting rid of implants, not just looking into the primary implant and seeing what killed you, how it happened, but being aware to accept our responsibility. We created the good and evil that you find so troubling in the lower worlds of time and space. We are older than the worlds of time and space. We are Atmas. We are Source. This does not change. Sooner or later, each individual is compelled to recover what they were made to forget, one way or the other. People lose billions of bodies and billions of lives just to come to the point where they go on journeys like this. That's what's important. The sound that's vibrating around us is transformative. The energy coming down through Sat Nam you can see way up above the Drens at Din. It comes through Ambassador Trillian, out his thumbs, creates an oval sphere of golden white light, brighter than the hue that surrounds us in space and that surrounds the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun and the stars. So we are in the middle of an energy that comes from beyond the void. The void is not the realm of the Supreme Being. It is a barrier between the upper realities and the lower planes of time and space. No negative nature whatsoever can be brought into the void to go higher. It must be turned off or left off with the bodies we have in the lower planes. So when your body is in the sleep state now, your astral, causal, mental, and etheric bodies on those planes are in the same state right now. Daytime or night, it doesn't matter. Because the Atma, you, that runs those forms, is going on a journey back home. When you look at the Earth, it has no polar ice caps, because we're looking at the Earth that exists in the third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. There's 144 of those levels before we even get to the astral plane. It's just big. The Atma you are, Galactic Alliance representatives as Atmas, can comprehend such things as Atmas, not as brains and bodies. That's impossible. But as the Atma, they do. What is intelligent that has the equivalent of 10 PhDs by the time they're 10 years of age on these worlds? From any race part of the Galactic Alliance. Is not the brain and body they grew up with that could have more strands of DNA and have no subconscious mind, no implants, healthy, telomeres don't shrink. But it's actually the Atma that has this capability to have this higher IQ running a body with DNA like what we have on Earth or on other worlds. Most of your lives you've lived were of a higher nature, higher intelligence, and higher DNA body than you have now on Earth today. Which means, as we wake these things up and we go on these journeys, this higher IQ and higher ability you had in even other lives that were deprived you knowing of them growing up on Earth, begin to filter down through your physical consciousness on the planet, right in Earth's negatively impacted atmosphere, because it flows through you, out to the world and out into space, uninterrupted. It is a flow like a river through you. It imparts its beneficial nature to you on its way to be of benefit to others. And this is our true nature and our way of co-creating with it. You can see the moon around the Earth with its oxygen atmosphere. Geometrically placed domed cities on the surface. Those small oceans and lakes and rivers and mountains and water and rain. And turns on its axis, has no polar ice caps, and it orbits the planet. Things are balanced. That moon is what the moon circling Earth that you're familiar with should look like to be normal. It is not normal. It is anything but normal. What happened? It stopped its movement. It does not turn at all on its axis, not one bit. The gravity of Earth and other planets should have it turning somehow, but it does not. This affects the water, the H2O in bodies on Earth and in the oceans, not in a good way. Earth's oceans are depleted. Well, except for some charge near the equator, keeping things alive. But if you look at the Earth in the distance beyond Trillian, the oceans are glowing. The planet's atmosphere is thicker. The water on the moon glows. It has a charge of the hue in the H2O. It's one of its peculiar incredible properties they're just becoming aware of on Earth today. What is water? What does it do? What can it do? If Earth's oceans are depleted, people aren't walking around in this charged hue from the source, are they? Because 8 billion people are blocking this with fear. Fear does not mix with the co-creative nature of each Atma. Not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. It must be put off, stopped, set aside, dropped, removed, something, in order for you to return to being a normal being. Because it was artificially created and implanted. It is not a real or proper human emotion. Human or human has no negative nature. Understand this. When you look up above the Et and Din smiling at you, they're doing a little jig, like a little Irish jig dance. They're so cute. They're just having so much fun. I've got my cat, Starlight, hovering above them with his tail glowing, the one that I took to Satnam when he passed away here. He's got a little female companion next to him, too. They are becoming master teachers. So for now, because we're used to it, we're seeing a cat form. But he doesn't have to be in that form. He's not bound to it. And above them is Satnam standing high up in space with his 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms and his white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare ankles. Golden eyes kind of glowing, bronze skin, bald head, about 36, muscular, bare-chested, just standing there, bare feet, looking down at us. Now this is the Purusha, or governor, you might say, of the Atma plane, which is the first heavenly realm, for lack of better words, that exists on the upper side, beyond the void. And then there are many others above it. No negative nature can be brought into the void or brought into the upper realities. We ourselves do not have negative nature. That's programming, that's subconscious baloney. It is not us, it never was us, it never will be us. And when people are broken free from that amnesia, that subconscious terror, the process out here in space is irreversible. It cannot be reversed. It's one way, onward and upward, back to source. Up above Ramu, and up above Opelum and Et and Din and Torellian and all of us, Satnam is standing. There's a beautiful, huge Atma hovering above his body. That's him. And above that is this hourglass-shaped conduit, a doorway, an opening. It is a white golden light turning clockwise slowly. And around it is a blue-green water-like element that's flowing on the outside of it. And it's not water. There are elements of the lower planes that are protecting this vortex so that it connects from the physical universe in space up to the void. You begin to see Satnam turn. The Atma he is moving upward into this opening. And then all of us collectively as a group follow him. By the time we reach the central area of this narrow channel, we look like a comparison as a whole group of us, like a dime to the size of a dinner plate. We're moving right up through the opening, and Satnam is receding further up ahead, just traveling in this conduit. Torellian is moving this galaxy of beings around himself in the center to keep things focused. And then we find ourselves suddenly inside, in the middle of a vast pale blue, omnipresent, everywhere luminous light, much brighter than the hue below. And the hue is golden white light behind the blue. You can just see it. We are looking in every direction, and all you see is this blue light. You don't see any vortex below. It's gone. And then you see Satnam receding way up higher in the distance. The the spherical form he is above the body form receding. And we're suddenly shot upward at tremendous speed through the sound in the void, which is probably why some people think it's the room of the Supreme Being. You hear the sound of millions of men and women's voices with perfect vocal cords singing the hue on multi-dimensional levels. It radiates everywhere and becomes a single round whole tone. And we're riding that sound, following Sat Nam. And then you see him approach what looks like a white, luminous, glowing, sandy beach, much brighter than the void we're in. And it extends as far as you can see to the left in this space and to the right. And it begins to curve way out in the distance. You realize this is some kind of a beach that surrounds a very large landmass. And Sat Nam is taking the time to land. He's levitating down to this beach, this form that's perfect, about 36 looking, ageless. And he's wiggling his toes in the glowing, luminous white sand. Terrellian stops at the edge of this white sand, and it looks like he's standing up to his knees in a beautiful, luminous, pale blue water, but it isn't water. And all of us line up to each side of Sat Nam, and you look down and find your toes, this pure energy form of you, wiggling in the sand. You reach down and pick the sand up, because that's what Sat Nam is showing you to do. And these little polished, circular, faceted diamonds, radiating light, go into your palm, up the top of your head. You look up smiling, goes into the white core of your being, and then it brightens all the layers of you that is an Atma. And it moves through you. It doesn't stop. It passes through you for your benefit, on its way to benefit others. So here you begin to become a co-creator with the Source, as you were meant to be. When you look up at these jungle trees lining the back of this huge curved beach, you can see snow-capped mountains way off in the distance, kind of a diagonal. The trees are very, very tall. They look like palm trees, and some look like fruit trees or banana trees, but they're transparent. These are living things. They're Atmas running them. You can see Atmas in between the forest trees. The energy moving through their trunks and from their roots is the pure hue with no negative nature. That's why they glow. That's why they're transparent. Up above you see a dozen different birds, well, same birds actually, flying up out of the trees to greet us. And 6 on top of 6, and another 6 on top of 6, another 6 on top of 6, to the right side and the left side, and they stop to hover in front of us. They are about a foot long. They look like, kind of like blue jays, long V-shaped split tails, longer than a sparrow, twin sets of wings, beautiful radiant wings, one above the other, like a dragonfly, big blue eyes, rainbow colored feathers, thousands of colors throughout the spectrum. And they begin to sing the hue, the perfect masculine and female vocal cords. And then you hear them speak to you, and they welcome you at one time, simultaneously, to the realm of the Atma. And then they go back to their trees. You notice there's an Atma hovering above each one. These are not birds like on Earth. They are very advanced genetic forms, higher than molecular bodies in the lower worlds. So there are forms here, but they are kept in place and manifested by the Atmas running them. They aren't born through women. Nobody gets born and dies here. There are no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars up above the blue, cobalt blue sky that hovers around the Atma plane. We move over the top of the jungle with Satnam, and he stops to hover beside a fountain down on the ground, coming out of a 100-foot wide white stone floor. It's got white scalloped edges like scalloped of a seashell. There's a statue of Satnam standing in it on a square disc. A cylindrical pole holds it up. There's a white sitting seat made of a white stone around it in a circle like a donut. 12 intricately scrolled or carved stone legs supporting it. And there's a shaft of white golden light coming down through the top of the statue's head. And Satnam is pointing to that, not to the statue, to the white golden light coming down through it. It's coming out his palms, facing outward by his sides, pouring out of his palms, filling this bowl in a glistening golden white sheet, disappearing down behind the circular seat that surrounds it. It has a humming sound coming from it, a thin high note of a flute. Now that comes from the ocean of sound and light itself. We're going there. But first we have some things to explore. We are now in the realm of Satnam. Everything here that has form, including the long diagonal mountain range, snow-capped, has these crystalline buildings set against the mountain base, big pillars going up several hundred big steps like in Rome, up into an opening with a big chair made of a golden quartz. And there's a golden quartz floor glowing. But Satnam doesn't sit in that chair. He's not there to be worshipped. It's more of a functional device. It takes energy from a higher world through the chair and puts it into this plane. So he doesn't have the burden of sitting under it. Then you look down at this fountain. Then you look back at these steps and you realize we are walking up the last of these steps through a huge cathedral-like opening. There's steps coming up from all sides up to this crystal smooth rounded chair. And we walk around the back of it and there's a cathedral-like opening on the back side. And you can see the base of these mountains on the other side. There's another fountain there, bigger than the one in the garden. And it has a statue of Satnam above it. And there's a bigger shaft of white golden light coming down into it, filling this bowl. There are different points that feed this reality from the realities above it. Out in the distance you can see vast fields, green, violet, and red grass, and different animals grazing, birds flying through the air. And there are atmas hovering above each and every one of them. When we go and play in that, and you can do that on your own, you can actually take turns being an atma running an eagle body, or a dolphin, or a whale, or a cow, or a sheep, or a chicken, or a bird, or any number of other species throughout the multidimensional creation. And then they can take a turn hovering above you that has more of a pure energy form that looks human here. This way we begin to do what we're meant to do, respect all life. It is required. We are required to do one thing, to be free beings, to play in the multidimensional universe again. And that is that we respect the source behind all life and each other. This has to be experiential. It cannot be taught like for information. This is what you learn. This is what you believe. Belief and faith have no business being here. None whatsoever. This is a place of direct experience, not belief, not theory, not speculation, not debate, nothing negative. We know. We are spherical atmas. We know. Knowing is what's awakened here, not doubt or fear. By awakening this, doubt and fear become neutralized permanently. We have to do our part to work at it a little bit. Not much. We find ourselves hovering above this long snow-covered mountain range looking down on the Atma plain. It's bigger than anything you can imagine. There are sections out in these plains. They go from desert to mountains to oceans that surround this whole place. The size of it is bigger than all the galaxies put together below it. So if you thought of yourself as what size you are here, you couldn't compare it to Earth because you're pure energy here. There are no suns or moons or suns or stars up in this blue atmosphere because everything produces its own radiant glow, including the land. There is no need for such things. Satnam's realm and the realms above it are kept in place by very advanced beings. It is their co-creative responsibility to maintain such places. When I co-create in these worlds and higher, I become responsible in eternity for maintaining that new creation. So does everyone else. It's our true nature. So it becomes very important for beings to manifest a home here, to get grounded here, to establish their feet on the ground here, so to speak. Because when your body stops working, where you go from there is determined by what you know, not what you believe. Belief and faith are backed by fear and doubt. They're opposites. We leave that behind in the lower worlds with the sleeping bodies for now. We are now back above that fountain of Satnam, standing in a fountain on this circular white stone floor. Concentric circles of widening concentric circles of botanical plants, 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet tall, perfectly horticulturally placed. It goes for miles into the distance around this fountain. And then you see a crystal set of stairs appear from the base of the marble floor. Looks like white marble maybe. And they're crystal transparent steps that circle around the left side of the fountain. And then there's a platform. And it's a circular clear platform with a hole in it that circles this fountain beam coming down into the statue. Now what we're doing with Ambassador Trellian, Satnam is pointing to it, and we find ourselves all standing around this clear floor. And then Ambassador Trellian jumps into the beam, and we go with him. We're shot upward at tremendous speed, and up ahead you can see what looks to be an opening in the sky above Satnam's realm. And what we see in the distance through that opening, which is like millions of little blue stars circling in a vortex opening, it's just the next level up. It's created in a place between the 5th reality of Satnam's and the 6th governor, which is above him. And what we see is a brilliant cobalt blue atmosphere, brighter than anything below. And we're suddenly on the other side of it, and the vortex below us, we look down, vanishes. We don't see Satnam's fountain. We're looking into the distance at a huge floating circular landmass. It is surrounded by cobalt blue light. The golden white light of the hue from the source above is behind it, supporting it. We can see that this has a brighter diamond-like white beach surrounding it. And there is a blue, luminous blue-green wave constantly rolling and crashing on this beach in a continuous circle around the outer circumference of the entire landmass, and it never stops. This is beyond an electromagnetic field like the one that surrounds Earth. This is made of an energy from source that helps hold this place where it is, floating in this huge cobalt blue light. When you look down over it, when we're suddenly above this continent, high above it looking down, we can see that there are 6 snow-covered mountains in a circle surrounding a valley, a circular valley, and in it is a blue-green luminous lake surrounding another white stone island, and there's the blue glass administration tower coming up off that island, 2/3 of the way up, it's very tall, is an oval, transparent administration area. It goes up to a minaret point. There's a shaft of white golden light coming down into it. You can see right through this blue glass-like structure. And in the center, on the middle of this white sand, or this white stone, is a pedestal 4 feet high, maybe 1.5 feet wide. Has a blue stone with gold laced through it. And above it is a sphere, like a crystal sphere of a blue-like glass with a radiant cobalt blue star in the center of it. This is at the base inside the center of the Hugh Expansion Rate Academy Tower, which is now in the center on the island between all 6 mountains. When you look down upon this landmass and look out towards the horizon, you can see these roadways come out of these horseshoe-shaped tunnel openings that are clear and glass-like. And these white stone roadways go out from the base of these 6 mountains in all directions until they reach the beach. And all the way down these many miles of roadways that look like the spokes of a bicycle tire around this central nexus are these teaching facilities. Every now and then, one to the right, another one to the left, another one to the right, another one to the left. And when you look down, there are 4 places where beings called silent mentors now have a type of residency here. Now, these are beings much larger than us as Atmas. They are the mechanics of creation. Their function, their purpose, is to maintain the multidimensional creation, the doorways between dimensions. Planets circling suns, moons circling planets, galaxies turning on their axis, billions upon billions of them, many, many levels. There are billions of galaxies in the astral plane made of higher matter than the physical, and 144 parallel dimensions of that. And causal, mental, etheric, that's below the void. Up here, you can see when you divide this floating landmass with this cross through it, so that you're looking at quadrants, like dividing up a pizza pie into quarters, you can see a white roadway going 2/3 of the way down towards the coast in each quadrant. And off to the right is a clearing. And in the one in the northwestern quadrant, which we often are taken to, we find ourselves looking down on a clearing. And in the clearing is one of these blue glass-like spheres with a radiant cobalt blue star in the center, hovering a foot above this circular marble stone-like floor. Around the outside of this clearing are 12 trees. These trees look like giant weeping willow trees with these drooping branches down to the ground. They have broad spoon-shaped luminous blue to blue-green leaves. Standing above the tree is a form of a human, bigger than us. Charlene's about the same size. He's standing in the middle above this spherical crystal. And we're in a circle around him, and around us are these 12 silent mentors, alternating male to female. They have a different colored gown on. They have different colored hair to their shoulders. You cannot see facial features. When you look in their white golden light of their face, you see levels upon levels upon levels of galaxies and planes. That's how they think. Above these forms they're showing us is a spherical atma. It's 4 times bigger, and twice as packed with teardrop shapes than what we are. They have never interacted with Atmas or master teachers previously until recently. Because of some change they went through, they are responsible for having put a permanent end to the polar flips of planet Earth in recent years. No more Golden Age to Iron Age for that world. That's over and done with forever. This means it gives that planet, its people, time to evolve for hundreds of millions of years like other worlds do, without flipping every 100,000 and wiping everything out. Silent mentors have to be involved to change anything in the lower worlds of time and space that has to do with structure, planets, orbits, or anything like that. Here, there's a number of master teachers still in a circle around Ambassador Turelian, Opelum, Ramu, and Light Sea, Etta and Din. Agam Purusha is here, hovering high above everything. And that is from a being who operates a plane many dimensions above here. And what is taking place here between master teachers and us in a circle around Turelian, hovering above this sphere, is an energy exchange between silent mentors, male and female, the Atmas we are, passing through the white core and coming from the master teachers surrounding Turelian. This is something new. And this way, new prototypes of beings are coming into existence, which is, at some point, to experience being a blend between the unlimited power and freedom a silent mentor has and that of the loving nature of a master teacher, something that's never existed before. This means that the old failed experiment of good and evil that we all began is being retired. Something else is taking its place. We call the hue expansion ray is the hue, but it's a consciousness flowing through the omnipresent power that is designed to remove subconscious minds from people. It's designed to give them back who and what they were in the beginning, which when they knew they were co-creators and were meant to return to the source, which we're going to in a few moments. Our journey that started billions and billions of years ago was to culminate in our return. The problem was people in the lower planes of time and space, that old failed experiment of good and evil worked so well, not as intended. Beings began to forget and get trapped in those worlds and those planes, and they couldn't even remember how to get back. And this means a good percentage of what we call source or prime creator was trapped itself. And the lower worlds could not change in billions of years. Death and murder and rape and killing and life and happy and joy and loss of loved ones and over and over and over and over again. In an endless cycle that everyone knows isn't quite right. There's something quite nuts about all that. So from up here in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, you begin to become a co-creator with such beings. You begin to naturally visualize and see ways of doing things that allows you to contribute your unique nature as a being to the source itself. This is what we were meant to be doing, and it never worked out that way. Not until now. When you look up above Turelian, and you see this other being, it's a huge sphere of light, just massive. And it's moving upward, above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And we're following around Turelian. He's just keeping us focused. And as we move up through these planes, one after the other, a higher and higher form of light and sound, we come into a realm, suddenly, that looks like gargoylean. There's strange pink and red and green and orange and blue and all these colors moving up out of the ground, whirling around. And there's this one being hovering in the middle of this chaos. And this is Agam Purusha. He governs the raw power of eternity and regulates it down to the lower worlds. First thing I did when I first met Agam Purusha was befriend him, ask to be his buddy. Other people were terrified of him because he's so massively powerful. So we became friends. He's with us inside the white core of our being at all times anyway. In the background behind him is a tree, thousands of feet tall, with roots extending down into this whirling light beyond where you can see. The top of this tree extends beyond the higher heavens. The tree is silver and glowing. The needles are silver-like. This is called the tree of life. There's an identical one to it we will go back to on our return. It's in the Hue Expansionary Academy. They are connected. We're moving into the trunk of this tree. Agam Purusha has given us permission. We're passing through the needles, and as you look at one and you go by it, you see a world visualized in that needle. You can see it somewhere in the lower worlds of time and space connected to this tree. It is a device. When we get in the trunk of this tree, it is roaring with golden white light, powerfully moving up and down. Through the atmosphere we are. It doesn't harm us. We're made of the same thing, but we are individuals within this omnipresent power. In the center of this surrounding Tyrellian, we are suddenly shot upward. We come out the top of this tree and go into an opening space, which is the realm of the ocean of sound and light, above Agam Purusha's realm. What you're seeing now is a much brighter cobalt blue light surrounding a single galaxy. It looks like a galaxy. Silver golden white light. And in the center is a white island. And in between these beings that are revolving around it like stars around the nucleus of a galaxy, they are beings. And we are moving through the space between these beings and coming into a void and big empty space that surrounds this white island. Hovering above the center of it is the Ancient One. Prime Creator, Source. It looks like the Atma on the front of this Emerald Doorway book, but it's much larger, much, much larger. Twice, 3 times as many teardrop shapes in it. But we look the same as it on a smaller scale, like a drop of this energy out of an ocean of this energy. We are individuals. We move inside, right inside Source or Prime Creator, as little drops of the same thing. And we're hovering between its layers. And then you begin to hear the voice. It's a deep, I don't know how to describe it. It's not deep male sounding voice. It has a feminine quality to it. But it has this deep sound. It is not a being on a throne. It is a nexus of all Atmas in existence in all the planes, up above the worlds and lower planes of time and space. And it can speak with you. It's a constant, continuous link between the center of all Atmas that make the presence of a type of being. But it is not an individual. It is Source, Prime Creator. We come from here. We are still here. We never left. The Atma is multidimensional, capable on every level. And this voice welcomes you here, and then it tells each one of you something different that makes perfect sense to you here. You always knew or had a hunch about. It confirms your awareness as a knowing being. And then we find ourselves hovering above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, high above it. We cannot stay in the ocean of sound and light longer. Your physical body on Earth would stop functioning. It's too far removed from the negative worlds of time and space. You're hovering by the western mountain, looking down on the western roadway that goes all the way to the beach out there. And the first right turn goes into a clearing. There is a massive four-sided, golden-sided pyramid with a quartz top, surrounded by a botanical paradise and little blue stone path leading into these two circular doors split in half in the base of one side. And it opens into the walls. Out steps a little master named Light C, about 5 foot 5 inches high. Beautiful Atma hovering above him. This master teacher is the custodian or caretaker of what is inside this pyramid here. So he invites us in to really and just move through. We're levitating above the ground in these physical forms. The Atma, we are hovering above it. We go right through the opening. We find ourselves standing on a foot-thick, luminous gold quartz floor. And in the center of this place is a massive silver tree, just like the one that's much, much larger, high above here, from here at Agampurusha's realm. This tree of life is connected to that tree of life. We move inside the trunk through the needles, and you see little worlds depicted in each needle as you pass through it. And you're in the middle of the trunk, and this sound and light is flowing through you, right through the Atma. Remember, none of you were allowed to, nor could you ever bring any negative nature here. So you are the pure Atma here while you're here. We're taking on the characteristics of our co-creative nature from source through the tree of life, through Agampurusha, through the tree of life in this pyramid that is the custodian or caretaker or teacher is Light C. And then you find yourself wiggling your toes in the white, bright, luminous, diamond-like sand at the end of the western roadway. The last turn to the right goes into a clearing. And in the clearing is an Olympic-sized swimming pool with blue tiles, glowing with a blue, radiant water, blue-green a little bit. There's a redwood-type handrail deck around it, and a platform on the other side, further inland, and a huge, long, rectangular building. It has vertical, convexly shaped, clear, oval windows around the sides, around the top, and when you look in one, you see planets in other places in the galaxies down below. And you see different dimensions. Each one accesses a different point. There's one of these blue split in half glass doors that opens in the side of this wall, and out steps a man, his wife, and their full-grown son who's half their height. These are master teachers that come from a galaxy 5 galaxies away from the Milky Way all the way down the physical universe. They're very tall with longer necks, longer fingers, toes, and hands, elegantly dressed, and they walk like swans as they move. The Atmas, very bright, hovering above them. They point inside and then disappear inside, and we find ourselves inside this vast soccer field-sized stadium, hovering around a huge spherical, golden, transparent sphere of light. Many beings are here, Ramu and Opelam and Etta and Din and Satnam, and master teachers, many of whom you do not yet know. And they're moving their physical like hands, moving some kind of an energy in the creation in the center of this spherical transparent light. And it's starting to form Earth as it is in the third higher parallel dimension, and then the moon that has oxygen and life, dome cities and atmosphere, and the single sun. And you find yourselves waving your arms, creating some detail to what will take place for the moon that is dead and does not turn on its axis, down on the earth you're familiar with. Each one of you are adding some kind of contribution to this change as Atmas. Then you find yourselves out in the ocean, moving away from the entire floating Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And you are actually out in the ocean of this cobalt blue light. It looks like ocean waves below you and blue or lighter blue above you, but it's really all the same energy. This is not material, nature, or water. It's not H2O. It is the hue. And Turelian is standing with his two thumbs up still, with his golden light around him, which he gets from here, by the way, or Satnam's room at least. And then there's a vortex that starts spinning underneath him. It has a golden white light shaft in the center and a blue-green water revolving around it. The sound coming from it is like, it sounds like women's voices singing, Hue, 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 Hue. And these are beings who create this vortex and maintain it. And then we start moving with Turelian down through this vortex. The first thing we find is we're stopping out in space, still surrounding Turelian. All the masters are still here, except for those that went back up to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy to carry out a session and teaching facilities. And we're looking down on Earth. This Earth has no polar ice caps. It has a huge continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere, and another one on the other side centered over the equator, 2/3 its size. That is Lemriel, or Mu. The other side is Atla, or Atlantis. These are continents that were sunk and destroyed when the poles flipped and the Earth you're familiar with, that has the barren moon. This does not happen here. Down near the southern pole, about 1/3 of the way up from it, where this continent comes down to a point and goes back up to the right hemisphere. And the way it does up near the North Pole, this down near the South Pole is a curved, luminous, emerald green, glowing beach you can see from space. We are looking at the third higher parallel dimension of one of many Earths, stacked on top of each other, that are being prepared for people on Earth, so that the overpopulated nature of it can be dealt with. These are practical issues. You find yourself suddenly standing with your feet, your bare toes, wiggling this emerald green glowing sand. Satnam happens to be here with us. I don't know why he chooses to do this, but he does. And he's wiggling his toes in the sand too. Turelian's standing offshore in this glowing radiant ocean, like a kind of a blue-green water. The sand is emerald green. The jungle trees look like jungle trees, much taller than those on Earth. And the trunks of the trees and the leaves are glowing. They all have a charge of the hue. The ocean Turelian's standing in is glowing 1 foot above the calm waves. So Ramu reaches down, grabs the sand, which is these little circular, polished, perfect emerald crystals radiating light, and they go into his palm. He's demonstrating for us how to do this. He goes up into the top of his head, he looks up smiling, goes into the big Atma he is, and it's already bright, so it doesn't change the brightness at all, except in the green layer. So we reach down and grab this sand. We're simply duplicating the experience. And that emerald green sand goes into our palm, up the top of our head, out the top of our head, smiling, up into the white core of our being, brightening the Atma and the green layer as well. This is a gift from a race called the Zeontranamus on planet Zeontranamun 1, located on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, in the physical dimension where the Earth and Moon is that you're familiar with. This green energy of the hue is there to assist you to remember all the lives, especially those that are important, that you've ever lived in all the planes below the void since before time and space began. And this will assist you to do that. You don't need to remember all those lives. No human brain can handle that. The Atma that runs the body certainly can handle that and dispense to you on earth what is enlightening for your life there. You remember whatever lives are needed for you to gain a higher IQ and higher intelligence to remember more. You find yourselves in space around Turelian, looking at the Earth you're familiar with polar ice caps and a barren moon. Then you find yourself hovering near the ceiling, back on Earth, as a spherical Atma in a physical form that looks like you. Perfectly beautiful female, about 36. Flawless. The Atma hovering above it. The sound of the hue, the high note of a flute, roaring through you. Coming down through the ceiling and through these beings, this couple that is still assigned to you are still there. It moves through the pineal gland, the center of your human brain, and out through the electromagnetic field, which is a big field of energy around your body, not a little aura close to it. And you feel and you understand that this wisdom is passing through you for your benefit, on its way to benefit others. The energy moves through you to 3 pyramids on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, 2 at the bottom of the deepest oceans, 1 inside a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas. There's a statue of Satnam in these, which is a device, running, turned on, flowing into a bowl, radiating and pulsing out through the walls of these pyramids, through the planet, goes out into space and connects 3 of them to a point in a fountain in a much bigger pyramid that is stationed between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of what was a planet that was blown up long ago between Mars and Jupiter. And then it goes out into space to bigger pyramids that have been manifesting between individual stars. And it goes into the central core of the galaxy and up the white golden shaft of light that is really there. It's not a black hole. And it goes back to source like the sign of infinity. It's moving constantly and never stops, and it's moving forward in only one new way, the hue expansion ray. It is the way that it moves so that when beings recover who they are this time, the wisdom is imparted to them as well, so they can never be vulnerable to be trapped again. One way, and this is not reversible. When you're ready, open your eyes. Just let it seep in, sink in. The body and personality you have on earth is not conditioned to accept or understand any of this, but you are. And you have mastery over that body, at least somewhat more awakened than you have before, so that as it moves through you on earth, when you're walking down the street or going to a restaurant, you don't have to say anything to anyone. You just sit there and observe their conversations. They're going to be very superficial and pretty silly, but you just let the hue flow through you to everyone. Don't try to change anyone, there's no need. It knows what it's doing. In this way, the hue flows through you so that you have a shield from all the negative stuff that's stored in the atmosphere. This is why it's important not to dwell out of habit on positive and negative things or fear of the present and future. It is a complete and utter and total waste of time. Period. So we want to keep pretty focused about this energy that's moving through us now. The choice is ours individually to co-create with this now in the right way. More journeys follow, more to come. Any questions that any of you ladies would like to have on this journey? There's only 4 of you. Well, Pari too, but she's part of the journey too, actually. She didn't have to translate, so that's good. Any questions about anything we experienced? It's okay if you don't have any. Don't worry.
To me, it was amazing journey as always, and I could see where we were going before the journey starts, and this time I see all colors very beautiful, and I didn't expect that Acamprusia will come to Heal Expansion Ray Academy and Satnam came to the third parallel world, it's surprising.
They can move between the planes of the upper realities easily. There's no barriers between them like there is in the lower worlds of time and space. They are different frequencies of the hue, but you move through them effortlessly. There's no doors, no barriers between them. Sophie, you okay? And Quan, didn't see her. She might be out. Lucky luck. You were smiling brightly. B. Oh, you're very welcome, Quan. She's just saying. Anyway, this recording I will bring to a close now.